To prove that humans and zombies can also have children, I decided to capture a zombie who looked pretty clean. Due to a disaster that suddenly struck us, almost 90% of humanity turned into zombies, and I, ironically, activated a love conquest system, something that had nothing to do with the end of the world. And right at that moment, an incredibly beautiful zombie suddenly appeared in front of me. That scene made me react instantly. This love system didn't seem to have rules about species, did it? Besides, letting such a beautiful zombie pass by would be a complete waste. As soon as that thought crossed my mind, I took a rope out of my bag. I waited for the right moment and threw it with force, precisely catching the zombie. She let out a deafening scream on the spot, but the next second I stuffed a rag in her mouth. Smelling human flesh so close, this zombie went crazy immediately. Her small head lunged desperately towards me, while I, excitedly, held her hand tightly. At that precise moment, the system notification echoed in my head. Congratulations, host, for completing the hand-holding mission. Conquest target, Shen Qingwu. Identity, university student. Current status, zombie. Affection level, 0. Reward for holding hands, 100 kilos of fresh meat. Reward for the first kiss, zombie virus vaccine. Reward for total conquest, genetic evolution potion. Seeing these generous rewards, my breathing suddenly became ragged. Just the first 100 kilos of meat would be enough to feed me comfortably for 2.5 years, not to mention the 2 incredible treasures that followed. But the most difficult problem now was, how the hell was I going to increase the affection level of Shen Qingwu? After thinking for a moment, I reached out my hand and took the rag out of Shen Qingwu's mouth. Immediately, she started growling at me furiously. Her sharp teeth were grinding, a sound that chilled my blood. Without another word, I directly took a piece of meat from the system's inventory and stuffed it in her mouth. The growling stopped instantly. Right after, she began to frantically tear at that piece of meat. Seeing this scene, I couldn't help but sigh in resignation. With that mouthful of fangs, it seems the reward for the first kiss was out of my reach for now. At that moment, the door to the next room suddenly opened. A man and a woman came out from inside. The woman spoke as soon as she opened her mouth. Hey handsome, my husband and I haven't eaten for 2 days. You have so much food, you're even feeding a corpse. Could you share a little with us? The two of them were a newlywed couple. The husband's name was Shen Liang, the wife's name was Lin Wan. Normally, these two people always lived on takeout food. They didn't have a single bit of food stored at home. In my past life, it was because I believed their sweet words that I foolishly shared my food with them. I even thought they would be grateful. But it turns out that while I was out looking for supplies, they looted everything and even locked my room from the outside. No matter how much I screamed, they didn't open the door for me. To this kind of ungrateful and treacherous wolves, how could I give them food again? However, this Lin Wansi, in front of me, might be of some use. As soon as that idea came up, the system interface appeared before my eyes. Name, Lin Wansi. Identity, married wife. Affection level, 0. Reward for holding hands, 100 kilos of fresh fruits and vegetables. Reward for the first kiss, a 120 metru furnished house. Reward for total conquest, a luxury villa of 1,000 square meters. Seeing this reward, a smile appeared on the corner of my lips. It's 100 kg of fruits and vegetables, although I'm not lacking food. But in this apocalypse, a balanced diet is the top priority. Those two saw me smile and thought I had accepted their request. That Shen Liang guy immediately got cocky. First, give us 5 kilos of pork and also 3 jugs of purified water. Those two almost made me laugh out of anger. When did I ever agree to your terms? My food. Even if I have so much left over that I have to feed it to the dogs, I would never give it to a bunch of traitors like you. After saying that, I pushed Shen Qingwu back into the room. Shen Liang glared at me, grinding his teeth in rage. He wanted to attack me, but he was afraid of the zombie by my side. Back in the room, I helped Shen Qingwu sit down, and while I was at it, I opened the system panel. The result left me completely shocked. Affinity level. Shen Qingwu's had increased by 5 points. I immediately remembered the final stage of the apocalypse. In my past life, the evolved zombies developed intelligence. Could it be that Shen Qingwu can also evolve? How is it that just for a little bit of meat, her affinity level went up 5 points? This is much easier than wooing a normal girl. Thinking about that, I took a few more pieces of raw meat and gave them to her. I managed to raise her affinity to 10 points. Originally, I planned to ride the momentum and keep feeding her, but when I saw her round little belly, I decided to stop, so, after putting the rag back in her mouth, I started planning my next moves. 1 month after the zombie outbreak, a terribly cold spell will arrive. I only have a little over 20 days to prepare. First, I must solve the supply problem. Food and drink are the most important survival factor. Then, warm clothes and medicine. These things are easy to get. But the safe house, the most important thing. I don't have the slightest clue. This safe house must not only be sturdy, but it must also maintain a stable temperature during the extreme cold. Wanting to find an existing structure that meets all the requirements is harder than reaching for the sky, as far as I know. In the entire city of Xinhai, there's no such place. But right at that moment, an idea crossed my mind. I remembered the reward for Lin Wan's first kiss. I quickly called the system in my mind. System, does the reward house already exist? Or can it appear out of thin air? The system responded, all houses given as rewards are built from scratch. The host can designate any location for its construction. What if I have special requirements for the house? For example, built with titanium alloy, and that it has a secret exit, a warehouse and medical and communications equipment. The system was silent for a few seconds. The host is required to provide the construction blueprints. Additionally, the communications equipment and medical equipment are not included on this list. The host needs to obtain them on their own. This made me go wild with joy. That means my alloy safe house, made of titanium, has a chance. Right at that moment, suddenly, there was a knocking at the door. Lin Wansi was alone and helpless at the door. Seeing that no one came to open it, her heart was burning with anxiety. Both ends of the hallway were dark. Who knows if a zombie might suddenly appear? Just as she was about to give up, the door finally opened. Lin Wan's face showed a hint of joy. But as soon as she saw the knife, the butcher knife I was holding in my hand, her heart sank and she hurried to explain. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not carrying any kind of weapon. I narrowed my eyes and looked her up and down. Lin Wansi also realized I was sizing her up. If it had been before, she would have surely slapped me by now. But now, after all, she needed a favor from someone else, so she could only force a model-like smile. I wanted to ask you for some food. I gave her a look full of disdain. Lend it to me. I assure you it'll be worth your while. If you just lend me some food, But how could I trust a trick like this? Say no and I'll close the door right now. Hearing this, Lin Wansi didn't move an inch. So what? Aren't you scared? What if a zombie suddenly appears outside? I had barely finished speaking when a zombie's roar echoed in the distance. Lin Wan's beautiful face turned pale with terror. Immediately, she had no choice but to clench her teeth and come in. Just as I was closing the door, I locked eyes with Shen Liang in the apartment across the hall, diagonally. Seeing he was discovered, he immediately hid his head. I let out a mocking laugh and slammed the door shut. Wow, he was born to be a ninja turtle. That hiding skill is first class. In the room, Shen Qingwu saw Lin Wansi and immediately went crazy. Frightened, Lin Wansi instinctively backed away. She let out a scream and moved away. How do you have a zombie in your house? Aren't you scared? My face remained calm. There's nothing to be afraid of. After all, it's just a zombie. These words made her unconsciously compare me to Shen Liang. And in her heart, she thought, if my husband had half my courage, he wouldn't have needed to come here to endure this humiliation. Thinking of this, Lin Wansi sighed deeply. Just say it. What do you want me to do for you to give me food? Minutes later, she returned to the living room and yelled at me in a terrible tone of voice. I already did everything you wanted. Where's the food? I slowly opened the refrigerator door. I purposely let her see the inside, full of fresh meat. At that very moment, a thought crossed Lin Wan's mind. What if I just knock him out and that's it? But in the end, her reason prevailed. The truth is, I was always on guard against her movements. In the end, Lin Wansi didn't attack me, which made me feel a little sorry for her. I was so close to being able to act in self-defense. I took out about half a kilo of pork and casually threw it at her feet. Her expression darkened. She stared at the piece of meat on the floor. You're only giving me this? It's already a lot. Originally, I was only planning to give you 250 grams. How could Lin Wansi know how valuable half a kilo of meat is in the apocalypse? She only remembered that before Shen Liang married her, the dowry had been 380,000. Besides, her name was on the property deed. Lin Wansi took a deep breath. Finally, she bent down and picked up the piece of meat from the floor. Stands up, she left with an icy face. Seeing that expression of hers, I didn't get angry. On the contrary, I was happy. The more annoyed she got, the more intense my satisfaction from my revenge was. Then, happily, I opened the system panel. The house and the vegetables showed the status ready to claim. Although a 100-square-meter house is a bit small, I have a solution. I just need to find another person, a woman with a status similar to Lin Wan's, and it'll be able to expand on this 100-meter base. The only problem now is the design blueprint for the safe house. Luckily, at Xinhai University, there might be survivors from the architecture department. It seems I'll have to go out. The next morning, I started to gather supplies. My first target was apartment 04 across the hall. I took a wire and inserted it into the lock. I solved it easily in a few seconds. As soon as I entered, I heard the sound of someone chewing voraciously from the bedroom. I pushed the bedroom door open stealthily. I only saw an old man with white hair devouring a corpse on the bed. How horrible, I muttered to myself. Then, I took a butcher knife and lunged at the zombie. Who would have thought this blow didn't cause him much damage? On the contrary, it completely enraged him. He turned around, bared his fangs and claws, and lunged at me. I kicked him in the chest, sending him flying through the air. Then I pounced on him to land a few more blows, until he stopped moving completely. When I came to my senses, I realized the butcher knife had two nicks. After all, it was just a butcher knife. It was meant for cutting meat, but cutting zombie bones was too much to ask. It was time to find a more suitable weapon. Around noon, I had finally checked the 6 rooms on the 5th floor. In total, I took care of 3 zombies. I found a box of malt juice, 7 bottles of various medicines, and a can of protein powder. Although the haul wasn't bad, this sharp butcher knife was already completely useless. Luckily, I found a baseball bat and tried it out a few times. It felt pretty good in my hands. Meanwhile, Lin Wanxi and Shen Liang, through the peephole of the door, witnessed the entire process of how I annihilated the zombies. My frenzied appearance made them both gulp. Gulp, secretly relieved they weren't foolish enough to provoke me. Otherwise, they'd already be 6 feet under. It wasn't until they heard the sound of the door closing next to mine that they both dared to come out. They carefully checked each room, hoping to find some food I might have overlooked. Too bad my search was too thorough. They found absolutely nothing. Damn it, is that bastard the reincarnation of a locust? He didn't leave a single crumb. I think I found a steak, but it's covered in mold. Shen Liang rolled his eyes. My dear wife, why don't you go ask him for a little more food? Lin Wanxi's face showed clear disapproval. But we barely ate yesterday. I'm not very hungry right now. How about I just don't go? You're not hungry now, but sooner or later you will be. Are you going to wait until he gives all the food to those living corpses before you decide to go? Shen Liang, seeing her hesitate, took her hand sincerely and urgently. Wife, I want to keep living by your side. I'm sure we can wait until the rescuers arrive. Seeing her husband's pleading gaze, Lin Wanxi clenched her teeth. All right, I'll go. As soon as Lin Wanxi stepped through the door, she caught an incredibly appealing aroma. At that moment, I quickly went to the kitchen and took out an electric rice cooker. Inside was a pot brimming with potato stew. I also opened a bottle of malt juice and sat comfortably on the sofa to eat. Lin Wanxi was lured by the aroma, gulping loudly. But seeing that I said nothing, she could only stand there. After 2 bites, I acted as if I had suddenly remembered her. I almost forgot about you. As I spoke, I stood up and grabbed a plate. I served some meat onto it. Lin Wanxi thought it was for her. Just as she happily extended her hands to receive it, I walked right past her and headed to the sofa. After removing the gag from Shen Qingwu's mouth, he immediately dug his face into the plate and devoured the food. On the other side, Lin Wanxi's expression was extremely awkward. She cleared her throat and changed the subject. So you cleaned out the entire 5th floor today? Yes. I'm getting ready to leave. Before I go, I need to gather some more supplies. Hearing this, Lin Wanxi's eyes widened. What? You're saying you're leaving? It's full of zombies outside. Where could you possibly go? I smiled, without answering. What? You don't want me to leave? Hearing these words, Lin Wanxi's face filled with rage. Who wouldn't want you to leave? I just hope you die out there. But even though she said that, there was a glimmer of worry in her eyes. If I took all the food, wouldn't she and Shen Liang starve to death? Tell me, why did you really come to see me? I want to trade food with you. I couldn't help but laugh. I had already guessed that Lin Wanxi would come back, but I didn't expect her to be so shameless. In the blink of an eye, 4 days passed. I've already searched the entire building. These days, Shen Qingwu's appetite has become increasingly terrifying. At first, he'd be full with just half a kilo of meat. Now, not even 1.25 kilos is enough to fill him up, but his stomach didn't look at all bloated. If it weren't for the affection points continuously rising, I really wouldn't want to feed him anymore. And not caring if he understood or not, I just threatened him in my mind. I've taken care of you for 6 days. If you dare to bite me with bad intentions, I'll leave you here to your fate. When I finished, I took the rag from his mouth. He didn't scream like at the beginning anymore. On the contrary, he opened his mouth, waiting for me to feed him. If you dare to bite me, I won't give you any more food. Understand? Since you didn't say anything, I'll take that as a yes. So, cautiously, I brought my hand closer to Shen Qingwu. The result was that he, without any courtesy, opened his mouth to bite. I immediately shouted at him, "No!" He froze at my shout. Then he tilted his head to look at me. I carefully brought my hand closer again, but Shen Qingwu bit, as if nothing happened. We went back and forth like that more than 10 times. Just when I was about to give up, he finally stopped biting. He just stared intently at my face, as if he wanted to decipher through my expression whether that could be eaten or not. Inside, I was crazy with joy. I gently shook my head at him. Shen Qingwu seemed to understand my intention, and really, he didn't bite anymore. Excited, I took another piece of meat and brought it to him. Then, I nodded once at him. This time, he ate immediately. After that, I tried it several more times, and he always waited for me to nod before eating, to check if he only controlled his ferocity because he was tied up. I decided to do one more experiment. First, I removed the ropes that tied him. Then I put a plate of meat on the coffee table. Shen Qingwu stood up, staggering, and walked towards me. First, he looked at the meat on the table. Then he glanced at me. Afterward, he raised his hand and pointed at the plate of meat. My heart filled with immense joy. I nodded at him. Only then did Shen Qingwu take the plate, and he ate greedily. I must admit, his way of eating was still hard to watch, but what made me happy was that Shen Qingwu's affection level had barely reached 40, and he already obeyed me. So, if his affection reaches 100, when I have a subordinate, well-behaved zombie? What do you mean, a love system? Clearly, it's a system for raising a servant. Meanwhile, on the other side, in the last few days, Shen Liang was on pins and needles. He already knew I was about to leave. Whether for food or for revenge, he didn't want to let me leave here alive. But on his own, he definitely couldn't do it. After all, I'm one of the tough guys. I can easily take down a horde of zombies on my own. So Shen Liang started plotting something with his wife. Honey, we can't let that brat leave. No way. At least we can't let him take the food. How about you go ask to borrow food from him again? And while he's fast asleep, open the door for me to come in. We'll take the opportunity to get rid of him. Out of guilt and remorse, Lin Wanxi could grant almost any of his requests. In the end, she nodded. Shen Liang's face lit up. Perfect, as soon as it gets dark, we'll act. I'll go get ready. Watching Shen Liang's back as he walked away, Lin Wanxi gave a bitter smile. He didn't even ask for the details of the plan. It seems in his heart he already knew everything. Over here, since I was planning to leave early tomorrow, I prepared to go to sleep a little earlier. But as soon as I lay down, I heard a knock on the door. I opened the door, a smile on my lips. What's up? Are you hungry again so soon? Hearing that, Lin Wanxi cursed under her breath. Inside, she just wanted to punch me in the face. But in the end, she managed to hold back. She even forced a seductive expression. It's not just hunger. Come in. I stepped aside to let her in. Just as Lin Wanxi passed by me, I spanked her. That soft, gelatin-like feeling forced me to praise her sincerely. Lin Wanxi grabbed her butt, looking at me furiously. You have to give me another cookie. Her expression, furious but not daring to say anything, made it impossible for me not to look up at the sky and laugh out loud. So this is what it feels like to not be a good person. Does it feel this good? I didn't feel a shred of empathy for her, the way those two treated me in my past life. This was just what they deserved. Lin Wanxi lowered her head, but a flame of anger burned in the depths of her eyes. Just wait until tonight is over, let's see if you can still laugh. A few hours later, Lin Wanxi came out trembling, leaning against the wall. From the room to the door was only a dozen steps, but it took her several minutes to walk them. As soon as she opened the room door, Shen Liang slipped inside. So, is he asleep yet? Perfect. Let's finish him off right now. Shen Liang tightly gripped the fruit knife he held in his hand, but he had only taken a few steps when he saw a figure standing at the bedroom door. The sight scared Shen Liang out of his wits. Didn't you say he was already asleep? Lin Wanxi was also startled, terrified, but she immediately realized something was wrong. That's the zombie that scoundrel raised. How did it get loose from the rope? Honey, what do we do now? What if we retreat first? At that moment, Shen Liang's heart was in intense conflict. Although he also feared the zombie, he understood even better that if he lost tonight, there would be no other chance. Besides, Shen Qingwu looked dazed and confused. This gave Shen Liang an illusion. The illusion that he could also succeed. But to be safe, he still told Lin Wanxi, Wife, go attract its attention. You'll take care of it from behind. As soon as she heard that, Lin Wanxi started trembling with fear. Don't worry, I won't let it hurt you. Although Shen Liang's mouth assured her of this, in his heart, he was already prepared to betray his wife at any moment. But how could Lin Wanxi agree to do that? She still didn't love Shen Liang to the point of dying for him. At that moment, my voice, which had lost patience, echoed from the bedroom door. Hey you two, how long are you going to keep arguing? Hearing my voice, Shen Liang and Lin Wanxi's hearts almost jumped out of their chests. You weren't asleep yet? With all the noise you two are making, even if I were asleep, you would have woken me up. Seeing the smile, carefree on my face, as if nothing was wrong, Lin Wanxi's face instantly turned pale. Honey, let that zombie hold him off. Let's get out of here quickly. You mean her? Under their disbelieving gazes, I raised my hand and patted Shen Qingwu's head, and not only did she not attack me, but she docilely let herself be petted. This scene scared them so much they almost peed their pants. How? How is this possible? This girl not only doesn't look like a zombie, but even her habits are completely different from other zombies. Suddenly, Shen Liang forcefully pushed Lin Wanxi towards me, while he turned around and ran straight for the door. But he hadn't run 2 steps when I caught up, and with one blow, knocked him down. Wait, I have something to say, I beg you. Please, don't kill me. But I had no desire to exchange words with her. I finished her off decisively. Seeing this scene, Lin Wanxi was scared out of her mind. It was all Shen Liang's idea. He wanted to hurt you. It had nothing to do with me. I beg you, forgive me. I swear that from now on, I will serve you like a master. In her heart, Lin Wanxi still held a glimmer of hope, thinking that I wouldn't be able to kill her. To her surprise, I answered her coldly. It's not that you know you were wrong. It's just that you know you're going to die. At that moment, Shen Qingwu approached and pointed to the 2 corpses on the ground. I shook my head. No, this was already ruined. Early the next morning, I immediately took Shen Qingwu and we left the apartment on my motorcycle. It's worth mentioning that the roar of the engine on the road attracted countless zombies, but that horde of slow-moving creatures just couldn't catch up to us. They could only watch helplessly as I sped away. Upon arriving at Xinhai University, to get rid of the zombie army following us, I was about to find any building to hide in. Suddenly, I heard someone calling me from this side. I hesitated for a moment. Then, I abandoned the motorcycle and ran in that direction. The person who had called me, seeing me run towards him, hurriedly moved away from the window. I placed one hand on the window frame, and with an elegant leap, I got inside. But Shen Qingwu's body was frozen. He didn't know how to climb through the window. He could only stand outside, stunned. Some enthusiastic students wanted to help him, but I pushed them aside. No need, he'll handle it. With that said, I leaned out, put my hands under his armpits, and without much effort, I lifted Shen Qingwu inside. Inside. At that moment, a guy with the air of a rich kid spoke up. You must be the person my father sent to save us, right? This guy's name was Gu Chengwu. Using his status as the mayor's son, he had tricked the others by saying his father would send people to rescue them. That's why he had become the leader of this group of survivors. I completely ignored the hand he extended to me. And who the hell are you? Do I even know you? Gu Chengwu's face instantly darkened. He had said that to make himself seem important, but he didn't expect me to not show him the slightest respect. To save face, he began to speak with a tone of superiority. In other words, you're also a survivor, just like us. In that case, then you have to follow our rules. Seeing this, one of his lackeys immediately approached, trying to snatch my backpack. I slapped his hand away and took a step back. What do you think you're doing? Gu Chengwu put on a self-righteous expression. So that we can all survive, please hand over your provisions, that way we can distribute them uniformly. I let out a cold laugh. What the hell do I care if you live or die? Upon hearing that, Gu Chengwu deliberately raised his voice so that everyone could hear him. If everyone were as selfish as you, we would have starved to death long ago. What we're doing is to use the resources in the most rational and optimal way possible. I really couldn't stand listening to him anymore, so I interrupted him. Whether you live or die is none of my business. I also have no intention of joining you, so there's no way I'm handing over my provisions. Gu Chengwu smiled coldly. He raised his hand and pointed towards the window. Then, I'm sorry, but I'm asking you to leave immediately. At that moment, outside the window, the horde of zombies I had attracted earlier was crowding around, clinging to the window, drooling. Of course I wouldn't leave at that moment. Besides, I hadn't yet fulfilled the purpose I came for. There are many classrooms here. I'll stay for a few days and then leave on my own. Faced with an outsider like me, the students believed Gu Chengwu more. So, filled with indignation, they surrounded me. What right do you have to speak to young Master Gu like that? If we hadn't saved you just now, you'd already be dead. That's right, this is a school. A stranger like you? What right do you have to be in our classroom? I couldn't help but let out a laugh. It's the end of the world and you still want to lecture me on morality? Besides, so what if I insist on staying here? Do you think a bunch of spoiled kids like you, who have never seen blood, would dare to confront someone who has emerged from a sea of blood and a mountain of bones like me? Just as the tension between both sides was about to explode, a beautiful girl in a long dress entered with an air of purity. What's going on here, Lu? Hey, this guy wants to cause trouble here. We were about to kick him out. Lu, he frowned slightly. If he wants to stay, let him stay. We have many empty classrooms. Why do they have to kick people out? Doing that is like sending them to their death. Come on everyone, disperse. The students looked doubtfully at Gu Chengwu, until he nodded. It was then that everyone dispersed. At that moment, Lu's gaze fell on me and then stopped on Shen Qingwu. Is she your sister? She's so cute. I guess so. Hello little sister. What's your name? And also, why are your eyes so red? But his enthusiasm was not reciprocated. I quickly stepped forward to explain. She's just wearing contact lenses. My sister is a bit introverted. She doesn't like to talk, don't worry about it. The other person believed my lie very easily. After all, right now, what zombie wouldn't bite people on its own initiative? Well, stay here for now. The first to the third floor is safe. You can choose any empty classroom you want. It'll be fine. But remember this well, from the fourth floor up, it's extremely dangerous. Very soon, it was noon, in front of a classroom with a sign that said warehouse. There were a dozen students lining up. Everyone was waiting to receive their food ration for the day, but most of them only received a few crackers. While Gu Chengwu was hiding in the warehouse eating a chicken leg that he had gotten. But at that moment, a strong and delicious aroma of meat came wafting over. The dozen or so people didn't even bother to stay in line. Everyone looked in the direction of the aroma. Upon smelling it, they all ran downstairs. At that moment, in a classroom on the second floor, I was starting a fire to cook. Those people were watching with eyes red with envy. Gu Chengwu even walked right in. Friend, could we use our food to trade for a little of yours? I didn't even pay attention to him. With that stale junk of yours. That tastes bad and doesn't even fill you up. Gu Chengwu wanted to say something else, but I didn't bother to listen. I took a bowl of meat and walked straight out. Do you want to eat? The people nodded hurriedly. At that moment, I cleared my throat. Is there anyone here who studies architecture? As soon as I finished speaking, the crowd fell completely silent. After a long while, someone spoke timidly. The architecture students are in another building. They've probably all turned into zombies by now. Hearing that, I felt very disappointed. I came here mainly to find someone who could design the blueprints for a shelter. It seems it was all for nothing. But just at that moment, a soft voice was heard from the crowd. I'm an architecture major. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound. They saw that the person speaking was a girl with pigtails. She was wearing black-rimmed glasses. She seemed very timid, being stared at by so many people. The girl was obviously a little nervous. I sized her up skeptically. That timid and withdrawn appearance, it was hard not to suspect that she just came to freeload for food and drink, as if she had noticed the disdain in my eyes. The girl with the pigtails summoned her courage and said, My name is Ruin Yuan Yuan. I am the top student in my major. If you don't believe me, you can ask other classmates. I believe you, but do you know how to draw blueprints? She suddenly raised her head, looking at me with an expression of complete astonishment. Of course, I didn't just believe her, but because of the system panel that appeared before my eyes. Name, Ruin Yuan Yuan. Identity, student, major, architecture, affection level, 0. Reward for holding hands, an electric generator, powered by solar energy, or a wastewater purifier. Choose one of the two rewards. First kiss, a complete surveillance system. Reward for total conquest, 4 turrets. Automatic turrets with 100 rounds of special ammunition. Amazing, every one of these rewards is mind-blowing. If I could get all of this, then the shelter's defenses would be exponentially strengthened. Hearing my question, Ruin Yuan Yuan nodded like a chicken pecking at corn. Yes, I do. And do you know anything about some rather special architectural design plans? In Ruin Yuan Yuan's small head, a huge question mark immediately appeared. But for the food, the young woman accepted anyway. All right, I'll hire you. Your pay will be 1/8 of meat and 1/8 of vegetables per day. Ruin Yuan Yuan, who already thought a little meat was a marvel, couldn't imagine there would also be fresh vegetables. The girl immediately accepted the job, overjoyed. But where one person is happy, someone else suffers. Gu Chengyu shot me a furious look, and then left with his cronies, with his tail between his legs. Upon reaching the stairs, a henchman named Liu Yi looked left and right. When he confirmed no one was following them, he spoke. Young Gu, that brat is too arrogant. Why don't we take care of him? Gu Chengyu was silent for a moment. We can't. That day, you also saw what he's capable of when he faces zombies. We're no match for him at all. At that moment, Gu Chengyu wanted to get rid of me more than anyone, but unfortunately, his strength didn't allow for it. The henchman, Liu Ya, wanted to say something else, but Gu Chengyu had already left with a wave of his hand. Liu Yi watched his back as he walked away. He snorted coldly. You have plenty of meat and fish. Of course you look down on his food. But I'm starving. This can't be. I have to find a way to get my hands on his supplies. Meanwhile, after eating, Ruin Yuan Yuan was still licking her lips, wanting more. Seeing her, I asked, Want to eat some more? Ruin Yuan Yuan shook her head. It's not necessary. I've already eaten all of today's pay. If I eat tomorrow's share too, then I'll have to go hungry tomorrow. Hearing that, I was a little surprised. Then, let's get to work. Ruin Yuan Yuan replied with a yes, and immediately went into work mode. She opened the backpack she was carrying, and took out a laptop. Tell me your requirements. I want the blueprint for a shelter. An area of 100 m2, and it must be extremely solid. It also needs to have a warehouse, an emergency exit, a rest area, and a bathroom. If it's 100 m2, it's still too small for a safe shelter. Because you also have to leave space for a cultivation area and a pen to raise animals. I looked at her, a little surprised. This girl was even more meticulous than I was. That's right. That's why you also have to leave room to expand it. In the future. Understood. I'll get to work on it right away. Hearing that, I asked cheerfully, how long will it take you to draw it? It will probably take me several days. If modifications are needed later, it will take me another 2 or 3 days. I immediately frowned. According to my memories from my past life, in a little over a week, an intense cold snap will arrive. If we don't move into the shelter before then, we'll freeze to death in this classroom building, which is full of drafts. I need you to finish the blueprint in 7 days. Are you confident you can do it? At first, Ruan Yuan Yuan hesitated a bit, but very soon her gaze became determined. No problem. 7 days it is. I took Shen Qingwu to the rooftop, wanting to find a suitable place to build the shelter. In a short time, I discovered that on the mountain behind the school, there was a vacant lot. In the front, it was protected by the classroom building, and in the back, it was backed by a large mountain. If you didn't enter the school, it was very hard to find. Besides, the number of zombies here wasn't large either. I took my baseball bat and prepared to go clear the area. I climbed out of the first floor window. I looked around. Nearby, there were 4 zombies roaming around. Although I was very careful when killing one, I still alerted the other 3. The first one to pounce was a guy in a t-shirt, who, by his appearance, seemed to have been an athlete when he was alive. Unlike other slow zombies, this athlete zombie ran extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it lunged at me. I didn't panic at all. I stepped aside and used the momentum to hit it with the bat. Worthy of being an athlete, this zombie took a hit and could still move. I immediately gave it another hit. At that moment, the third zombie pounced on me. I knocked it down with a sweep. Then, I finished it off with 2 more hits. Then, the last zombie lunged at me. I didn't have time to get up before it knocked me to the ground. That zombie opened its bloody mouth. It bit down hard on my baseball bat and started chewing it with all its might. I cursed under my breath. I wanted to get the zombie off me, but I failed after several attempts. Just as I gathered all my strength to try again, a small, slender hand suddenly grabbed the zombie's neck and threw it far away. I turned around, surprised, and discovered that the owner of that small hand was Shen Qingwu. At that moment, the zombie that was thrown growled and pounced again. I hadn't gotten up yet when Shen Qingwu, in the blink of an eye, grabbed the zombie's neck tightly, and with a strong pull, crack, she twisted its neck. That zombie fell to the ground with a broken neck. Who would have thought that someone who looks so fragile, Shen Qingwu's strength, would be so great? It seems my guess was correct. She has really evolved. Before, when I saw Shen Qingwu's skin turn from a grayish-white to a pinkish hue, I had already suspected it. Now, it has finally been confirmed. I opened the system panel, and I discovered that Shen Qingwu's affection level had risen to 50, much easier to please than a woman. She doesn't need designer bags or cosmetics, just a little food is enough. She can even protect me. As I stared at her, Shen Qingwu's face remained impassive, as if she wasn't the one who had just acted. After a moment, I continued clearing out the zombies. Shen Qingwu only intervenes when I am in mortal danger. The rest of the time, she stands aside, silently watching the show. It seems that to make her work for me, it'll have to keep increasing her affection level. I was busy until it got dark. Only then did I return to the classroom building. Upon reaching the men's restroom, I was about to take off my clothes to wash off the blood, when I realized that Shen Qingwu had also come in, bathing in front of a woman. This is the first time, although I felt a little uncomfortable. But on second thought, after all, she is just a zombie. Nothing more. I finished bathing quickly and was about to put on clean clothes, when I suddenly looked over at Shen Qingwu. Although I don't know if zombies sweat or not, the previous battle also left, her body covered in blood. So I decided to bathe her too. At that moment, Shen Qingwu was staring at me. Although I know that in her mind the concept of man and woman doesn't exist, I couldn't help but blush. I gritted my teeth and quickly took off her clothes. That jade white skin almost blinded me. Just looking at her was enough to make my body burn. I quickly repeated in my mind that she was a zombie. Thanks to that, I managed to calm down a bit. I hurried to help her bathe. A minute later, she was bathed. I raised my head and looked at Shen Qingwu. Done. You'll feel a bit more comfortable now, right? But she kept staring into my eyes. Unlike other times, in Shen Qingwu's eyes, there seemed to be a trace of emotion. I don't know if it was just my imagination. So, out of curiosity, I moved closer for a better look. The next second, Shen Qingwu's body suddenly pressed against mine. I didn't expect her to attack me by surprise at all. It was simply impossible to dodge, but the scene of a frenzied tearing that I imagined never happened. A soft and slightly sweet sensation came from my lips, my eyes filled with astonishment. It wasn't until the system alert sounded that I came to my senses. Congratulations, host, for receiving the reward. First Kiss Vaccine, Zombie Virus. After use, it grants immunity against the zombie virus. Looking again at Shen Qingwu's affection level. On the system panel, I got another incredible surprise. Who would have thought that with a simple bath, her affection level would reach 60, going straight to the like phase. I turned off the system panel and asked Shen Qingwu, "Do you have feelings yet?" Shen Qingwu tilted her head with a somewhat innocent expression. It was clear she didn't understand such complex words, so I switched to a simpler question. "Do you understand what I'm saying?" This time, she nodded. I tried asking her a few more questions, but whenever it was a slightly complicated sentence, Shen Qingwu would enter a dazed state, bewildered. It seems that expecting Shen Qingwu to act on her own is still not very realistic, but as her affection increases, maybe she can really recover her human emotions. At that moment, she'll surely understand orders that are more complex, but for now, let's get out of this bathroom first and then we'll see. Back in the classroom, I discreetly asked Ruan Yuan. I found out that the mini fire station is right next to the main entrance of the administration building. But to get there, you have to go around the zombie horde on the sports field. I silently memorized this information. Afterwards, I told Ruan Yuan to go rest. In a short while, only Shen Qingwu and I were left in the classroom. I took out the zombie virus vaccine and injected it directly into my arm, emptying the entire vial. That way, it will be even harder for that zombie horde to threaten me. At that moment, on the third floor of the classroom building, two figures were stealthily moving towards the stairs. One of them looked worried. Will nothing really happen if we do this? The other replied with disdain. What could happen? No matter how good he is at fighting, it's just two people, and one of them is just a little girl. Taiju, are you even afraid of a little girl? This person was Lu Yi. Very quickly, the two of them arrived, one after the other, at the classroom. Where I was. They discovered that the front and back doors of the classroom were locked from the inside. But how could that stop Lu Ye? An expert at skipping class. He grabbed onto the window, and after a moment he managed to open it. Then he did a somersault and jumped inside. Taiju wasn't as agile as Lu Yi. He put one leg through the window and sat on the sill first. But just as he was preparing to bring his other leg over, he noticed the small figure inside the classroom, stiffly getting up. He was so scared that he stammered nervously. Lu Ye, there's someone here. Lu Ye was instantly on alert, but it was already too late. He only felt an icy chill in his chest. A slender arm had pierced through his chest. Taiju was petrified with terror. He turned around to try to flee, but a hand also pierced through his chest. Shen Qingwu looked at her hands, soaked in fresh blood. Suddenly, a feeling of thirst and hunger arose in her mind, an urge. That urged her to lick up all that blood. But in the end, she managed to control herself. The next day, when I woke up, I saw an excited Shen Qingwu showing me the blood stain on her hand. My gaze froze instantly. What does this mean? Shen Qingwu looked towards the window again. I followed her gaze. I only saw one person collapsed on the floor, another, leaning against the window. Both had a huge hole in their chests. Next to the bodies hung a nunchaku. Seeing this scene, I understood everything instantly. But at that moment, Shen Qingwu took my hand. She shook it back and forth. I immediately understood what she meant, so I took her to the bathroom. I washed the blood from her hands. Upon returning to the classroom, I had barely thrown the two bodies out the window when Ruan Yuanyuan arrived with her laptop. She greeted me with a nod. Then she went to her desk and started working. A moment later, Gu Chengwu's detestable face appeared at the hall's door. Lu Yi, what did you do to him? I looked at him with a calm expression. Who's Lu Yi? Stop pretending. The one who was with me, the one with the green hair. At that moment, it dawned on me. It turns out one of the two guys from last night was named Lu Yi, but I kept pretending I didn't know anything. I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't know any Lu Yi. Do you think I'm going to believe you? He didn't disappear before, he didn't disappear after, he disappeared right when you arrived. If it wasn't you, who else could it have been? What nonsense are you barking? If someone disappeared here, look for them yourself. Don't come bothering me at my place. Our argument attracted quite a few students to watch. Among them was Lu Hei. She asked doubtfully, what's wrong? Did something happen? Gu Chengwu's tone softened a bit. Lu Ye and Taiju have disappeared. Lu He thought for a moment. Could they have gone out to look for supplies? Impossible. Without my order, they wouldn't leave on their own. I took the opportunity to intervene. Are you so sure they obey you that much? Who knows, maybe they were already fed up with you. They could have run away while you were sleeping. Gu Chengwu's eyes turned red with rage. He wished he could attack me right then and there. Too bad he couldn't beat me. Lu He, wanting to calm the atmosphere, so full of tension, intervened. Maybe the two of them really did go out for something. They'll be back in a while. Be patient and wait. This time he believed Lu He. If they don't come back before nightfall, I swear I'll come and settle the score with you. After uttering that threat, Gu Chengwu left with an icy expression. As he passed by the warehouse, the man with glasses who was guarding it informed him. Young Master Gu, the food in the warehouse is running out. Then send people to get more. Yes, sir. I'll go organize it right now. The guy with the glasses was about to leave when Gu Chengwu stopped him. Wait, I'll give you a new list. Organize everything according to this list, and on that list were all the names of people who were not obedient to him. These kinds of people were just a nuisance in the camp. It was better to send them to look for supplies. If they died outside, it would save food. It was really killing two birds with one stone. Thinking of this, the corner of Gu Chengwu's lips curled into a satisfied smile. At this rate, in a short time, only those who blindly obeyed his orders would be left here. At that moment, he could teach a lesson to the person who had humiliated him. Suddenly, in the distance, a sickly sweet voice was heard. People! Young Master Gu, so you were here. I've been looking for you. Gu Chengwu looked up. He only saw Jiang Wei, dressed flashily, walking towards him. Why did you come? Where is Lu He? Why isn't she with you? A classmate has a fever. She's busy taking care of him. As soon as Gu Chengwu heard that, a lewd smile appeared on his face. If Lu He isn't available for now, isn't this a good opportunity to let off some steam? Thinking this, Gu Chengwu's gaze towards Jiang Wei turned perverse. Were you looking for me for something? Jiang Wei bit her lip. Can I look for you if I don't have a reason? Of course you can. Just now I was thinking of you too. A flash of shyness crossed Jiang Wei's eyes. Oh, you're so hateful, what you say makes me blush. Seeing her like this, Gu Chengyu felt a burning heat inside him. A flame of desire suddenly ignited. He rushed to wrap his arms around Jiang Weiwei's waist, but she dodged him. Young Master Gu, aren't you worried someone will see us? I would be so embarrassed. Hearing this, Gu Chengyu laughed out loud. How about this? I have to go to the warehouse to check on supplies. Why don't you come with me? Jiang Weiwei nodded immediately. Okay. The two of them, one after the other, entered the warehouse. Gu Chengyu, who was behind, locked the door. Anxious, he tried to kiss Jiang Weiwei again, but she nimbly dodged him once again. Impatient, Gu Chengyu scratched his head in desperation. What's wrong now? Jiang Weiwei first took a look at the supplies in the warehouse. Then, she said indifferently, Young Master Gu, it seems there isn't much food left, is there? Gu Chengyu replied nonchalantly, It's enough to last. Until my father's people arrive. As he spoke, he began to undress. Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up. It wouldn't be good if someone discovered us. Jiang Weiwei let out a mocking chuckle. Young Master Gu, do you really think your father has time to come save you? Gu Chengyu suddenly froze. What do you mean? Jiang Weiwei changed the subject, covering her mouth to laugh softly. I'm just guessing. Don't be so tense. Oh, by the way, I suddenly remembered that he asked me for help. Goodbye, young Master Gu. After saying this, Jiang Weiwei left, leaving only an embarrassed Gu Chengyu, frozen on the spot. He looked no different than a clown. Elsewhere, while I was clearing the area of zombies, I suddenly heard a cry for help in the distance. Holding my baseball bat, I looked in that direction. I saw that, in the window of a large building, a woman was shouting at me. This made me curse under my breath. Does this woman want to die? In the middle of the apocalypse, shouting for help is an extremely dangerous act. I know she wanted to attract my attention, but I had no intention of saving her. However, that woman's screams ended up helping me unintentionally. The zombies in the vacant lot, upon hearing the noise, began to move slowly towards the source of the sound. I said to Shen Qingwu, let's go. It seems we can finish early today. But this made the woman in the building impatient. Where are you going? Didn't you hear my cries for help? Seeing more and more zombies approaching, she had no choice but to shut up and start sobbing. Back in the classroom, I asked Yuan, did you hear a woman screaming a moment ago? Yuan nodded. Yes, I heard her. I think it was Teacher Wen. Teacher Wen? Do you know her? She's our school doctor. I thought about it for a moment. Do you want me to go save her? My question made Yuan, who was holding the mouse, pause for a moment. I just feel she might be useful to you. Oh, by the way, that building is the administration building. I see. After saying that, I took Shen Qingwu to take a shower. Another 2 days passed. The number of surviving students decreased. When I first arrived, there were more than 50 living students. Now, I estimate, there are only about 30 left. At that moment, a sense of panic began to spread. That day, I pointed to Shen Qingwu and said to Yuan, watch her for me for a moment. I have to go to the administration building. It's not convenient to take her with me. The reason I waited 2 days to go save her was to let that woman named Wen Ning lose all hope. That way, when I arrived to rescue her, she would thank me profusely. Half an hour later, I arrived at this trip's destination. But there were more than 10 zombies roaming here. I wanted to take them out with a surprise attack, but eliminating all of them was impossible. It had to be a quick victory. I took a deep breath and ran straight to the fire station. The small horde of zombies discovered me immediately. They growled furiously and surrounded me. Seeing that, I ran forward with all my might. Taking advantage of the fact that the zombies hadn't completely surrounded me yet, I dashed inside the small fire station. 2 walkie-talkies, a fire axe, and an escape rope. I took everything and left. Just as I was focused on looting supplies, I didn't realize a zombie was only 3 meters away from me. Luckily, I reacted fast enough, and quickly got into the bathroom. On the 3rd floor of the administration building, Wen Ning's consciousness was already a bit blurry. In her delirium, she vaguely heard a very loud noise, like the sound of a door being kicked down. Then, a male voice echoed, Is she dead already? What a pity. I'm late. Wen Ning's eyes shot open, and she shouted with all her remaining strength. I'm still alive, please save me. I tossed her a baseball bat. Can you still move? If you want to live, hold your weapon tight. Wen Ning gritted her teeth, leaned against the wall and stood up. I can do it. I led Wen Ning out of the room and saw a zombie staggering towards us. I took a few steps forward. The axe slammed directly into the zombie's head with a single blow. The zombie was instantly immobilized. Seeing this, I couldn't help but think, this axe is incredibly satisfying to use. Wen Ning, who was behind me, was completely stunned. This man killed zombies as if he were taking a stroll. When I reached the stairs, she finally reacted and hurriedly ran after me. There were quite a few zombies on the stairs. They had all followed me here. Outside, the terrain was too open. If they had surrounded me, I would have faced attacks from all directions. But now, with just a staircase, at the same time, only one zombie could attack me at a time. Obviously, I felt extremely safe. Besides, I had the high ground advantage. I could easily attack the zombies' heads and necks. In just a few minutes, the zombies' corpses already covered the stairs. Wen Ning was dumbfounded once again. My image, in her heart, was becoming bigger and more godlike. But just at that moment, her ankle was suddenly grabbed. At her feet was a female zombie who'd had half her face bitten off. Instantly, Wen Ning was paralyzed with fear. Her whole body trembled like a leaf, her small eyes filled with tears. Meanwhile, I stood beside her, indifferent. Aren't you going to use the baseball bat to hit her, or are you planning to save it for New Year's dinner? My words made Wen's small face suddenly flush. She raised the baseball bat over her head, closed her eyes, and brought it down with all her might. I watched her coldly the whole time. I left this survivor on purpose. I wanted to use the cruelest, and also the most direct way, to force Wen Ning to mature quickly. I nodded, well done, after receiving my approval. Wen Ning felt an unprecedented joy. Shortly after, Ruan Yuan was by the window, shouting excitedly. They're back. Shen Qingwu was beside her. Her expressionless face showed no emotion, but her eyes followed us intently from a distance. Around them, many students had gathered, drawn by the scene. Among them was Jiang Weiwei. At that moment, she was looking outside with sparkling eyes. When I brought Wen Ning to the window, Ruan Yuan was about to open it. But Jiang Weiwei was one step faster. She opened the window and extended her hand towards me, but I ignored her and climbed through the window. I jumped inside. Unexpectedly, Wen Ning took Jiang Weiwei's hand and climbed up with difficulty. Once she was steady, Wen Ning thanked her. Jiang Weiwei's smile looked a bit forced. You don't have to thank me. Miss Ning, welcome to our group. The other students immediately swarmed around Wen Ning, shouting excitedly. You could tell that Wen Ning was very popular among the students. I paid no attention to that noisy crowd. I took Shen Qingwu directly upstairs. Wait for me. Wen Ning saw me leaving, and immediately left the students to trot after me. The students looked at each other, bewildered. They didn't understand why Miss Ning had left them to run off. At that moment, on the second floor, 4 women appeared simultaneously at the door of my classroom. Ruan Yuan adjusted her glasses, evaluating the other 3. Of the 4, she was the only one who had a reason to be here. The other 3 didn't know why they had come. Seeing the 4 women at the door, I was also a bit perplexed, but I quickly regained my composure. Opening the lid of the pot, an intoxicating aroma spread throughout the hall. The 4 women smelled this aroma and couldn't help but swallow. I served a bowl for myself and Shen Qingwu first. Then I served another bowl and gave it to Ruan Yuan. While eating, Ruan Yuan cast smug glances at the others. Wen Ning had been hungry for many days. She had survived so far on sheer willpower, so upon smelling the aroma, her reaction was the most exaggerated. Her mouth was watering profusely. But even so, she forced herself to thank me. Thank you for saving me. Suddenly, the system panel appeared before my eyes. Target's name, Wen Ning. Identity, school nurse. Affinity, 50. Reward for holding her hand. First aid kit, medical manual. Reward for first kiss, zombie virus vaccine. Reward for total conquest, infirmary and all its medical equipment. Seeing this, I smiled with satisfaction. It seems ignoring her before was the right decision. Her affinity went straight up to 50. I asked Wen Ning, do you want to eat? Yes, very much. Work for me. I can give you the same deal as him. 1 bowl of meat and 1 bowl of vegetables a day. Ruan Yuan, who was eating comfortably on the side, upon hearing this, suddenly felt that the meat in her bowl was no longer as tasty. Instead, Wen Ning accepted without hesitation. No problem. Immediately, I served her a bowl. She began to devour it. She was really hungry. I looked back at the other 2. Target's name, Lu He. Identity, art student, pianist. Affinity, 0. Reward for holding her hand, piano skill. Reward for first kiss, collection of piano scores. Reward for total conquest, artistic talent for piano. Target's name, Jiang Weiwei. Identity, materialistic student. Affinity, 10. Reward for holding her hand, a car. Reward for first kiss, a 100 metru house. Reward for total conquest, a 1,000 metru mansion. After consulting the system in my mind, I found out that the car from the reward could be any model I chose. From a small car to a Ferrari. And bigger ones, like a heavy-duty off-road truck. I could even get a tank. Also, the 100 metru house was quite attractive. I could make my safe shelter double in size. It seems this girl Jiang Weiwei also has some value. As for Lu He's rewards, they weren't worth much. The clever Jiang Weiwei noticed the change in my gaze. She fixed her hair and said in a flirtatious voice, "Excuse me, can I work for you?" Ruan Yuan, who was next to her, upon hearing that, felt a chill run down her spine. She found it absolutely disgusting. But she never imagined that Jiang Weiwei could succeed with that seduction tactic. After all, in her opinion, I only kept people who were useful to me. To her surprise, I nodded and agreed immediately. All right, the pay is the same as for the other 2. Hearing this, Ruan Yuan's eyes widened in disbelief. What could this Jiang Weiwei do? Why would she deserve the same treatment as me? At that moment, Jiang Weiwei took the bowl I offered her. Her fingers seemed to accidentally brush against my hand. I could see her hesitation. You can also choose to stay here. Of course I choose to go with you. Jiang Weiwei is truly a smart woman. She knows that staying here would surely end in tragedy. She'd rather take a risk and follow me than do nothing. Our movements quickly attracted a crowd of onlookers. Immediately they began to whisper among themselves. Where do they think they're going? Don't tell me they've lost their minds and want to go outside. It would be great if they leave. They've been bothering me for a while. Lu, he was also in the crowd. Listening to the murmurs of the classmates around her, she frowned. Even though I rejected her yesterday, and I even said such harsh words to her, she still couldn't just stand by and watch us walk to our deaths. So she ran out from the crowd and stood in front of me. Where do you think you're going? To get out of here. You guys don't want us here anyway. Right? My question left Lu. He's speechless. Just as he was about to say something, a voice rang out from behind. It's true. We don't want you here. But the others don't have to leave. Miss Ning, you are the school doctor. Please stay with us. We really need you. That brat Gu Chengyu knows the importance of a doctor very well. He clearly wants to use the students to pressure Wen Ning morally. Immediately, I was enraged. Damn it, you dare poach my people right in front of my face? But before I could say anything, Wen Ning stepped forward. There's no medicine here. If I stay, it'll be useless. It's better for me to leave. You are a teacher, even if you do nothing. Just by being here, everyone will feel much more at ease. Gu Chengyu kept trying to persuade them, but Wen Ning didn't hesitate for a moment. She was firmly determined to follow me. Seeing that he couldn't convince Wen Ning, Gu Chengyu was no longer interested in keeping the others. To him, besides the useful Wen Ning, Ruan Yuanyuan and Jiang Weiwei were just two useless burdens. Stop talking nonsense. Let's go. I no longer had the desire to argue with him, so I turned around to leave. The girls behind me followed immediately. Since the apocalypse began, this was the first time Jiang Weiwei had left the classroom building. She looked around nervously, ready to run away at any moment. But what made her sigh in relief was that there wasn't a single living zombie here. There were only zombie corpses scattered on the ground. We arrived at a vacant lot behind the school. I stopped, and seeing this, Jiang Weiwei panicked. Why are you stopping? There are no zombies now. Let's go quickly. We're here. Here where? How can anyone live in this desolate place? This guy must be crazy. If I had known, I wouldn't have followed him. I didn't care what Jiang Weiwei was thinking. My mind was completely focused on the system. Receive real estate reward. Detecting design blueprint. Build according to the blueprint? Yes, no.